It's always funny when I read a one-line function and the solution actually has 14 lines. But okay, let's let's see what it does. Of course, the answer gives the solution title gives it away. It's a lot of list comprehensions, but let's try to make some head or tail with this. Of course, he uses ljust, so he's better than Guido here. Okay, and len of max of key is len. So this really shouldn't work like this. Of course, if you want to see what is the maximum of some iterable by with respect to length, then of course it will give you an element of iterable. If you don't need an element, you need this is what is actually called in some mathematical papers argmax. So if you really want the argument which gives you the maximum, but if you want the maximum length itself, then of course you don't do this. Then you map len. So of course you can do it by using len of max of iterable by len, but it just duplicates things without any good reason, because it searches through this iterable to actually get you an element, and then you again compute a key on it. Of course, this is simpler to read and to execute. And yes, this is Guido's algorithm for padding. And for x in here probably split lines. No, he is not splitting lines. He's splitting by a new line. Of course, in this case, it doesn't really matter because that empty line in the end is not really relevant. But yes, it will give you the same. In that case, in that sense, split lines is better. But it's no big deal in this solution. Where probably from vertical, because hor is from horizontal. Yes, people usually do this, especially if they have programmed in Python 2 for some period of time. Then they are afraid of those zips and maps and something like this, and they superstitiously just wrap them in lists whenever. And in most cases it is unnecessary. And the one case when it is always unnecessary is when you are iterating over it. When you are iterating, you need this. You need an iterator. You don't need a frozen list with values all in memory at once. So whenever you get an inclination to write whatever, and you say, oh, but in Python 3 this zip doesn't really return a list, so I should probably do this. Don't just write this, and it will be have the same semantics as in Python 2, and it will execute faster, because Python will not have to do the whole have to keep the whole list in memory at once. Okay, so I want to craft output for results. So this is really what I do with those templates. Just here he does it in a slightly more complicated way. There are of course some duplications of code here, but not really big deal. And what is the big deal is this, because here of course, he uses this OR to short circuit if there are no horizontal findings, then it will try vertical findings. If there are some horizontal, it will not be tried. But of course, this R is already calculated. This is calculated here, or cannot go back in time and say, okay, you shouldn't calculate this. Right. So it doesn't really save anything. Yeah. And of course, all those making all those lists with all those entries just to extract the first one of them is also not really good. of course. When you actually have a list, then of course it's easiest to just pick up the 0th element. But you don't need to have a list. You can have a generator. And then you just say next of generator. This will calculate all the elements, and this will calculate only first. So not only it is uglier to use all those brackets, but sometimes it just makes your code slower without good reason. One more thing. This really gives me an allergic reaction. There was a long time ago, I think Python 2.1 or something like this, when there was an in operator on strings, but you could only check whether a character is in a string. So a string was really an iterable of characters, and this in operator was checking containment in a method that was consistent with it. So you could have A in ABC, but you couldn't have AB in ABC. In the meantime, I think at least 10 years ago, Python has got this, and it is the preferred way to check containment in a string. So you don't need in those ancient times. Of course, the recommended way to check whether a substring is in string was with find. So you could write a string find substring, and it will give you something greater than -1. But in the meantime, of course, this should be the preferred way. It's fascinating how some idioms survive a decade without any thinking about how to say it more beautifully in modern times.